Hello, everyone. This is the Transform Through Love interview series. My guest today is Cassandra. Hi, Cassandra.
Hi, Katja. Great to be here.
Yeah, my pleasure. Yeah, you have such an interesting story to share. I love the story of your life. So, what you shared with me is, I don't even know where to begin. It's really interesting. You shared with me that you grew up not in a very traditional way. You were brought up in a very, let's say, untraditional way. You were traveling a lot and in a lot of different environments, exposed to different cultures, right?
Mm, absolutely. I originally Australian,
Mm-hmm.
as you probably saw by my accent.
Yeah.
My parents were natural travellers, and they always promised that we would again. And when I was 10, we started travelling again.
Oh, great.
Left Australia
Mm-hmm.
and lived in and travelled around Europe.
Mm-hmm.
Also spent time in Bali.
Mm-hmm.
Lived there for a while with the Balinese family, and in each of these, it was so, it was so liberating. It was so amazingly eye-opening. When we lived in a place, we lived there always for a while. We didn't live there as tourists. We lived there more as
Mm-hmm.
travellers, closer to the local
Mm-hmm.
lifestyle.
Great.
And it just opened up our eyes to infinite different ways of being, of living, of looking at the world, of food eating. Plus, we were homeschooled for those years, and we travelled for about 4 years overseas. And with that, we had incredible amounts of time and the potential for a lot of creativity. My parents were both writers, so they both said writing's the most important thing, being able to research, and then you can explore anything, do anything that captures your interest. So it took us to amazing places, and we met a lot of very unique people. Opened my eyes to sort of very wide ranges of people, from artists and poets and people who are musicians and creators and filmmakers, through to people who are farmers and living on land and totally connected to that, shamans in small Asian villages, and all of that. It's very, very important to see different ways of being. It deconstructs some of the frameworks that we can pick up from when we're very small.
Yes. Absolutely. Absolutely. And you shared with me that later on in life you had a very interesting experience with sailing over the sea, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, share a little bit about that.
When we went back to Australia and had lots of adventures then in Australia when I was in my teens. And then I went to university, became an archaeologist, because I was always interested in uncovering the deeper layers and deeper meanings, which then became part of the work I was doing later. So with my parents, we travelled the world and we explored things and we journeyed, but there was always a tension and unease. I was quite hyperactive as a kid, and I was put on sedatives when I was very young for this, and my nervous system became very shaky and shot from that. And so I was always seeking that extra thing. And so then when I left university a bit early at 22 and was like, okay, 21, time to go out traveling on my own. Got as far as Singapore, met through a friend, a man with the most beautiful boat, a Colin Archer, which is a 42-foot Norwegian-built, incredibly strong timber boat. And the boat was in beautiful condition. And the boat was in Singapore Harbour for months. I was there. We became friends. And I went sailing with him and his friend, and we sailed to Singapore. And on that journey, it's meant to be like a 2-month journey. And I had only been out on tiny boat trips before. I didn't know anything about sailing. But for me, it was like when an opportunity, and this has always been in my life, when an opportunity turns up, it's like you can only go forward. So it might scare you enormously, but you can only go forward. One can never go back, because when we go back or we try and hold in the place that we're in, we freeze. Now, this journey didn't seem like it was going to necessarily be, very dangerous or anything, but it was going to be a big adventure, going to sea for a couple of months and learning about sailing and sailing on a boat is a very small space to be together for a long time.
Absolutely.
So in a way, that sort of began the next part of my journey, because I was always seeking for that extra layer of meaning and to find stillness and calmness inside myself. And I was sort of pushing myself on the physical boundaries, trying to find that within myself. And so but at the time I was like, yeah, fantastic, an adventure. I was nervous and I was incredibly excited. So I went out and the boat was beautiful. We had amazing sailing, not much wind for the first month. And then when we got near just south of Japan, we had a weather fax which printed out the forecast of what was coming up, and we saw a typhoon heading, 1,000 miles in front of us up north. It was quite a out-of-season one. And then as we watched, a few hours later, it changed path and it basically started heading straight over the top of us.
Oh.
So we had no fuel. We used all our fuel up motoring through a still patch in the South China Sea. And it's like one of those situations in life where you actually don't have a way out. All you can do is prepare yourself in the best way.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I haven't had children, but I think for some people, maybe having their first child could be like that. It's like, okay, the birth comes and it's like the roller coaster's on. Mm-hmm. Well, we basically, put all the sailbags below deck. We batten down the hatches, as the expression is. Mm-hmm. We secured everything on the boat. We made some thermoses of coffee. We had our last meal for a while and we waited. And the seas built and built and built. Mm-hmm. And then eventually they got to, and they build up. But one thing we were extremely lucky, it happened in the daytime, the worst part of it. At nighttime, it's just like that much worse. So we were kept on dropping sails and putting up smaller ones until we got down to a small jib, just trying to steer the boat with it, which is like a 6-foot by 2-foot sail, actually bulletproof for storms. And then it was pulling the boat over. So at that point, we were still moving. We were still doing, 3 or 4 miles an hour, which is quite decent for our boat, with the masts and the wind on the rigging alone. So the wind and the waves built up. The wind built up to 150, got up to at least 150 knots, but at that point our gauge couldn't tell anymore.
Oh, wow.
It's screaming, it's howling, it's unbelievable. When you go, we had a wheelhouse, so if I ventured outside, which we did as little as possible, the rain was like bullets on our skin and left our skin bruised.
Oh my gosh.
And the noise is incredible. And then the waves were building up, and they got up to probably 60 feet. So the mast of our boat was about 40 foot. Mm-hmm. 60 feet was above it. It's like a 3-story building, probably, roughly around that sort of size. We were really lucky they weren't cresting. So they were just like an enormous chop. Mm-hmm. And we'd drop down in the bottom and the boat would come upright and we'd go up to the top of the wave and the boat would go over on its side, just dipping the spreader, which is on the edge of the mast sometimes, but mostly we were sort of walking on the edge of the wall and the floor. So it's a matter of clambering and wedging and holding on, and your steering was a bit of a joke, but we tried a little bit and then released the wheel when the next wave came. And the experience, my heart, I've never been anywhere where my heart raced so fast. Yeah, it was non-stop. It was just, and at the beginning I was like, oh my God, I think, I'll die from the pressure in my heart. Yeah. And then after about 4 or 5 hours, I'm like, okay, I'm not dying yet. Yeah. The boat is hanging in there. And so it's like, okay, if this doesn't kill you at this point. And so we kept taking care of just trying to get her through it. And the fear is like constant because it's all new. It's a completely new situation and it's totally life-threatening, and our body goes into absolute fear. So it was really interesting, and I really began to understand. Of course, I'd been in dangerous situations before because I like to explore the edge of danger. But this one was the most extreme one I'd been in. And I also started to find that place that could be a little calmer in the middle of it at times. And we came into the center of the cyclone and we sailed through the eye of the storm. And at that point, the wind goes down, of course. It's calmer, the waves are still there. We had a short amount of time to sort of, check everything and clear everything, not to get food or anything because we were living on vegetarian diet that took too long to prepare. And then after you come through the eye of the storm, it's worse. So we came through the other side and it was like, okay, we're ready. We went through that. And then after a few more hours, it was like, waves hit the side of the boat. They knocked the wheelhouse slightly, but it was starting to ease. And by nightfall, it started to drop down. We didn't sleep that night because we were all on just watching out for, the boat and anything else that might have been having trouble in the storm that might come across our path. And then the next day, though, was amazing because it was like we were breathing. I'm like, right, fantastic boat. We got through it. And then the next day, the waves had dropped down to about 40 foot and the winds had dropped down to about 40 knots. Now, normally that would have been totally terrifying for me. But in fact, what happened was we'd been through such an intense experience that when we got to that, the boat suddenly, instead of just trying to survive the storm, she's a very heavy boat. She normally went at a very slow pace. And suddenly she sort of kicked up her heels and went like, this is my speed and my element. And I was on the wheel, and she suddenly, and it was like surfing a typhoon. So hooning down the side of these waves, and it was possible to steer with the wind had dropped and the current, everything was getting a little bit easier, and she was responding incredibly heavily, and it was one of the most exhilarating things I've done. So we all spent all day, everybody, we wanted to be on the wheel that day and surf these waves. And then the waves kept dropping down and she went back to more of her normal speed. And we then spent another 2 months sailing to Hawaii and went through a lot of other interesting challenges on the way. From that, the image of the word typhoon surfing, which is not a phrase that people normally talk about, something that came to me a year or so ago when I was giving a talk with the Inspired Talks in London. And it was this, and I changed the name of my vlog to this because it's that thing in life where if the waves come, we can't avoid the waves. They come in all forms. They come in work. They come in relationships. They come in nature. They come physically around us. They might come in health. And if we can find the ways to surf them, the ways inside us and the support outside us, then the waves, it doesn't overwhelm us. Then we surf it. Then we can manage it.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Oh, I love that. It's so, wow. I just have no words for it. That must have been such an, freeing experience in a way. To experience that fear and still know that in a way you are safe still, and to experience, okay, I can get through this fear, I can get through this experience and feel really great afterwards, surfing these waves and it's kind of like bending the fear in a way.
That makes sense. Yeah. It is. Going through the typhoon, of course, at that point, every moment, we never knew what would happen next and if we would make it out. And would the boat survive the storm and could it get worse? But even in there, it's like, okay, but we stayed centered. We did what we needed to do. The captain was the most incredible captain, like an unbelievable man of just like stay centered, stay humorous. and be seriously practical and organized and absolutely respect the sea. So sometimes we really have to respect the thing that's going on around us and honor and take practical measures so that we're trying, our body survives as much as possible if it's a physical threat, but at the same time staying centered. In spite of our heart racing and our mind going crazy and all the other things that can come up. Yes. And then in the typhoon surfing part, and the surfing the next day, it was like doing something that should have been terrifying, but in fact felt so easy.
Yeah, it's like finding your strength in the eye of the storm, as you will, in a way. Yeah. Oh, that's really... It's so amazing. And when I see the analogy of, the ocean and emotion and how often are we as human beings, confronted with some emotion. And when we just learn how to surf these waves of emotion, it might be a lot easier,
Completely. And they're often... Sometimes we can find them the hardest ones. And with the work that I do, I see that with a lot of people, it comes up, and because they're the most overwhelming. Emotion is water, and being at sea for that long gave me an incredible understanding of water. We lived by the sea for part of my childhood in Australia, but there's nothing like being at sea where you're surrounded by water. The horizon's not very far from on a boat. It's only about 3 miles. But we were often 1,000 miles from land. And there's that energy of being immersed in water. And it's like being in all the emotions. Yes. And yet surfing them, not taking them too seriously, finding your balance, finding your way with them. Yeah. And it's part of our journey being human, really, is to discover our path for doing this.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I also wanted to know a little bit about your journey with, I think you shared with me that you were taught not directly by Osho, but by people from his community in a way?
Well, a bit of both, actually. It was interesting. After I came through the sailing journey, and I lived in Hawaii for a while, and then sailed back to Asia, and then it was like, I was like, okay, this has been an amazing journey for learning about fear, for finding courage, for the elements, for survival, for the beauty and incredible exquisiteness of the ocean. But there was more, and the people I was with were sailors but not seekers. And for me, I've always been a seeker as well. And my family were travelers, but only sort of seekers later in life, but not when I was very young, when they were just beginning their journey. So I was like, actually, I need to find my path of heart. I need to find more trust, and I need to sort of find more flow with people next. And so I went seeking that, and I went seeking in Indonesia and didn't find anybody. Went to Canada, and there I heard about Osho, who's a radical mystic Indian teacher. Yes. Very incredibly wise, incredibly highly educated, done PhDs in philosophy and a lot of Western understandings of psychology. And he brought that together with a lot of ancient Indian mysticism and of all the teachers of all time. So, and funny and irreverent and challenging. So I was like, when I heard him, I was like, wow, this guy's really interesting. He's like, and I liked the people who were following him. They were courageous and in the world and trying to be balanced and centered in the world. and funny. So I was like, I went to visit him in his ashram. Took a bit longer. Had to go back to Australia to get a visa for America, which was where he was, and I went there. He was in silence then, and when I first went, I did a 3 months counselling training there, and then I was working with all the people he taught. And their idea with the counselling training was you do 3 months, which is 12 hours a day, 6 days a week of work on yourself. So basically did every type of therapy there was, from encounter to Zen and meditation, from Tantra to body work and understanding how the body holds and different things from our past. So it was totally what I needed and absolutely started to open me up. And then soon after that, he began talking again. So he would give lectures every day and talk for an hour, 2 hours, sometimes even 3 hours, twice a day. So he was teaching us about conditioning, and he was talking about how we absorb everything from our past, and we do it from the people around us. We do it from when we're very small. When we're children, we want to be part of a tribe. We want to be accepted. But a lot of us don't feel that way, and I was one of those children, which then sent me seeking. But when we're kids, we don't feel comfortable with it, and so we try and do everything to fit in, and that is with our parents, our culture, our schooling, our religion, and whatever other influences we have. Yes. And then, as I found in my work with clients and with recent scientific researchers showing this more and more, we carry it in our DNA, and that is such a hard conditioning to come through, and that's often the conditioning that our grandparents and our grandparents, parents, grandparents, and earlier went through. Yes, especially if they went through trauma. Yeah, and that trauma gets locked in the cells of the body. Then we carry fear. And I've worked with people from Germany, Russia, and countries where the war came into the home, where they came onto the farms, where people died in front of each other, where awful things happened. And then then the children, grandchildren are going, where's this stress, this fear, this block, this, why am I holding myself back coming from? And sometimes it's coming as something in a way. When we've freed in ourselves, we're also freeing it up for our ancestors. Yes, absolutely. So it's sort of gift for the past. So he talked a lot about conditioning, and he talked about relationships and how the importance of loving oneself first, and how this goes completely against everything we've all been taught. So absolutely. I'm sure that you've explored this, and it's the sort of core of what you're talking about in these talks, really, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
With that, self-love means that we actually have to listen to ourselves. We have to trust ourselves. We have to honour the things that are true for us, because we're all a little different, and we're all a little wacky, and we're all a little individual. And this is what, makes almost 7 billion of us incredible, beautiful and individual. But it doesn't work really well with our wish to be part of a completely accepted tribe.
Yes.
So it creates this conflict, and the part of the key things with taking care and honouring ourselves is to love ourselves and put ourselves first. It's the art of selfishness, of the most perfect selfishness. Yes. And he'd talk about that you have to fill your own cup first. And I've taken that analogy, and because I do a lot of work with people, they come with me about relationship problems and how to fall in love again, and how to let go things from the past that was challenging, how to trust. Yeah. And it's like in a relationship, we have to be the coffee or the tea or whatever in our own cup. And our partner and all the other people in our life can be the cream They can be the froth. They can be this glorious thing on top. Yeah. But they can't be the core.
Absolutely.
We have to provide that core ourselves. And otherwise we go into relationships and we go in with an empty cup or a partially full cup. And then we each say to each other, please fill my cup, and I have conditions, which I won't tell you. And that's when all the unconscious stuff comes in.
Oh, absolutely. Oh.
And then, it's like in astrology, we look at it and we go, after the honeymoon phase, the unconscious stuff comes up, and then it's like, can you survive that within each other? And if you can, then you can have a working, a lasting and a beautiful relationship. But it's as much as we make time, make space, and sometimes we have to do things that are a real stretch and might put us out on a limb that might scare us, because it's like we could lose our relationship, or we could lose our job, or we could want to change places, change countries, change where we live. But our inner core might be calling us to do something.
Yes.
And how can we, obviously we'll try and make these things work together. And some people do it by taking a bit of space every now and then to do something that's true for them. Some people have space in the house on their own. Some people, are together for a while and then go along different paths because they change journey.
Yeah.
But these things usually come, and I'm also trained as an astrologer, as certain times in our life, and these phases are really handy to know about at 28, 29, and the 37, 38 to 45, because then one can understand a bit what's going on and not think you're going crazy, and surf the typhoon of change that comes at that time with more ease.
I love that you have such a great variety of knowledge and of training that you incorporate in your work. It's really amazing. So tell us a little bit more about what you do now. You do the healing with the deep, etc. So what exactly are you doing now with your clients?
Well, I've been living back in Europe for 10 years, and my work with my clients I call Healing the Deep. And it's got a strong link. The name has a strong link back to the ocean, because there are layers within us, and when we're healing, we're often healing in layers, and they're a bit like the layers of the ocean. And that on the surface, there may be things that can be healed very lightly and easily. Maybe there's something that one can even heal oneself or in a few sessions. And then as we go down, there's deeper layers, and there can be physical pain through to emotional challenges. But there'll be deeper layers, and then they get down to the things that we can't see, which is a bit like in the dark of the ocean. And that's where people come and work with me in longer programs that I offer. And they're my Healing the Deep programs, and they work, sometimes people will join me and work with me for 3 or 4 months. We'll meet up for a day or two each month, and then talk on the internet once a week, and I'm supporting them fully in that time, usually for a major physical and a big emotional and often work transformation that they want to shift in their life. So it's sort of like many, many levels that's often happening when people come and do those sort of programs. And then coming up a level, people come and work with me, and they fly to Bristol, where I am, or they come down and see me in Provence, sometimes in Bali or Australia, and they're working with one-day intensives, like a 24-hour breakthrough intensive, and 2 days, and then we're working on a particular issue or a couple of issues, and we're shifting it at a really deep level that's incredibly powerful. So I've helped people overcome fertility issues in a day. A couple came to me, and the IVF had failed them, and we actually managed to find the physical and the emotional the cause, and so they were able to conceive a few weeks later.
Wow.
So sometimes some things like, particularly stubborn physical problems might take a couple of days or might take longer, depending on the nature of the thing. So that when I'm working with people, the core of what I do is based on something called acuenergetics. And it's accurate energetic medicine. I'm a senior acuenergetics practitioner. I co-founded the school in Australia with the modality founder, who's called Kevin Niv Farrow. And together we built up that school, and then when it was strong enough and we decided to go our separate ways, I came back to Europe. And I lived as a kid, and it's one of my heartlands. And this modality is based on a really deep understanding of the bioelectricity in the body, which is the basis of our energetic system. And understanding this is like we'll often feel it. We might feel pins and needles in our body. We might feel numb in an area, but we don't necessarily realize that it's actually the energetic body. And what Kevin did was bring together understandings from many ancient cultures, and then we've built on it with modern learnings from India with the meridians and China for the meridians, and the India with the pranic fields and the chakras, and then the Judaic understanding of our energetic body, which is really interesting and not known about very much, because they mapped it, but then they wrote about it in code. So you have to understand quite a bit about the energetic body before you can read the books. So we have only one body though. It's like with the elephant analogy where someone describes the tail of the elephant and someone describes the trunk, and they think it's two different animals. But the energetic body has been described different aspects of it in different cultures. But it is one. We have all the same energetic body. And we have channels that run through our arms, through our body, goes deep inside and outside. And they get affected by energetic centers, and the emotions and the way, the sort of the mindset that's held in those centers then influences the physical body eventually. And if things don't heal, it's because our body's wanting to heal everything. So it will try and heal. So if it's healing itself, it's great. If it hasn't, then there's a holding. The holding could be caught in the channels in the body if it's a physical pain, and it can be caught in the energetic centers as well if somebody's tried something like acupuncture and it's not treated it. There's probably other channels that are harder to reach. You can't put needles in them. And we're often, it's always exploring down, because the thing is, there's a cause. Now, sometimes we have to find that cause to shift a problem and heal a problem. So if somebody comes, say recently I've been working with a few people with shoulder problems and throat issues and interest. It's the same part of the body, but say shoulder problems, be looking at they're connected to the heart, and they're often really stubborn to fix because of it. So there's a lot of energetic channels that have to be opened up in the arm. We've got to get the chi moving through there, because then the body can fix the muscles, can clear the pain, can get everything moving again and healing again. But if there was some emotional challenge before the time, then it kind of got locked in a different part, in a triangle here that's mapped in the Kabbalah, where that then restricts the channels and keeps, you can clear them, and then they might recongest. And so with my work, I specialize in certain areas of the body, and I guess it's really connected to what I found was most key in my life. So the first one is the heart, of course, because we're all about heart, and the heart in the Chinese medicine, the heart is the emperor and rules the whole body. And from our heart, we can heal. It's like, and, you know, when we love, everything transforms in our life, including healing or resolving something in our body. So the heart's key, but the bottom of our body, the pelvis and the area around it, is where we hold physical fear in the base, emotional fear in the belly, and in the middle is the pelvic center, the sacral center, and in that connects to everything. In a way, every way we connect to the world, to our love life, to our family, to our careers, to our money, to our creativity, to our children, and they all get interconnected. And there's hidden fears in the base of the body that affecting all of us, and yet we can't connect to them. And when I sailed the ocean, I connected to it quite strongly. Yes. And I was like, wow, okay. But what I do is help clear some of that primal fear from the cells of the body, and then the body in a way can breathe, and then we can start working on other things, and everything can sort of become a lot easier. So shall I tell you what I specialize in?
Yeah, please do. It sounds very, in a way, it sounds very complex, but also in a way very simple, which is interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, just share a little bit more.
In a way, I always felt that when things get complicated, the mind has got involved. So when we think about something and it becomes simple, then we've hit on a truth. Yeah. That, like inverted commas, truth is like something true for us, true for the world. So it is always, you look at something and you might go, oh my God, I've got different things happening around my body. Mm-hmm. So it's like, say someone's coming and they've got sciatica. Mm-hmm. Okay, so pain, say, up the side of the leg. And they also might have had some tension in the shoulders, and they might have, got a weak ankle, or their eyes are getting sore, stressed at work. And we're always having a look at the whole picture. And what this would tie into a certain channel down the side of our body, which is allowing us to be flexible in body and in life. But if we get stressed, it gets over rigid because it's trying to protect us. Yeah. And it then contracts down the meridian down the side of the body, causing sciatica, which is actually in a meridian, not in a nerve. Mm-hmm. And then it will affect, and it goes all the way from the second smallest toe on our foot, all the way up the side of our body and across the lower back, affecting there, across the shoulders, causing tension to the eyes. So it's always really interesting, and if we go, oh, I've got this problem, but now I've got that problem, it's not connected, but in fact, they often can be. And when you look at it and you go, aha, we have a simple answer. It's the gallbladder in this case. Let's try helping the gallbladder, and then that can unravel everything physically, and then let's have a look at de-stressing life a little bit and helping things so that one can ease off and find balance, and then the gallbladder doesn't have to work so hard. So I work with back pain, neck pain, through to the hips, and the coccyx, which is so close to the fear center, and a lot of people have accidents there, which cause them all sorts of problems, and legs. And then I work with sexual problems, for physical sexual problems, for both men and for women, through to relationships and love and our ability to trust. And because it's held in the cells of our body. We're all here. We're creatures of love. We're here to love. That is our journey, being human.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And so I work with fertility, as I was mentioning earlier, as obviously a flow on from that, and burnout and stress. I work with a lot of executives trying to balance corporate, huge jobs and highly responsible positions, sometimes running massive companies, and how to do that and keep the body relaxed, stay centered, and some of the, keep everything flowing. So then it all becomes easier.
Yeah.
and I help clear the trauma from the past, things that get in the way of loving our life now.
Yeah. Oh, great that you said that, because you also shared with me that you have something really cool coming up about letting go of the past, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I have, let me pull up the right name. Excuse me for a moment, I have to put my glasses on. I have got a little course coming available in a couple of weeks. It's just a little mini course, and it's free, and it's going to be, it'll be coming out. If you're signing up to my list, you'll get advance notice about it, and then I'll also share it out on Facebook afterwards. And it's called, I get the complete, Let Go and Lift Off. That's how to release the past and feel happier. And it's just one of those, we're just going to be starting on that, but it's got lots of practical tips and things that I've learned and shared with people and my clients, because it's the key. We want to keep the beauty from the past, learning the wise stuff, the things that were beautiful and joyous, but the things that limited us and that might be holding us back from, what helps us breathe, what excites us, what we want to go further, then those things, if you can free yourself from it, you can fast track yourself into the life you want. And then I'm following that up with a longer course that'll be coming out a bit later on, which is deeper on love. And that one is how to fall in love with your life and yourself, like decluttering the heart and the mind.
Oh, that's beautiful. I love decluttering.
Me too. It makes you feel fantastic. And then if you can declutter your inner world as well as your outer world, we can be so much freer. We can enjoy so much. We can really celebrate ourselves and enjoy our relationships and enjoy love more and work. Yeah.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Thank you so much. It's really amazing what you shared with us today. And tell me quickly, where can people find you? So what is the name of your website?
My website's called healingthedeep.com. Very straightforward. And you can connect to me also on Facebook, and there it's Cassandra Punita James, and then -- Healing the Deep. So if you go into Healing the Deep, it should come up. It's healing on that's my work page, and on there you'll find I do fortnightly vlogs, and cool. I share, and there's a lot of tips and practical stuff that I'm always sharing. There's an ebook of mine that you're sharing, you have available for the group, which is great. And then with that comes extra videos on just quick little ones on meditation tips and a fantastic little Chinese way of Qigong of how to clear an emotion and thoughts in 30 seconds. And so you can sort of do a mental reboot.
Oh, cool.
What's going on. Yeah.
That is amazing. Great. So thank you so much for sharing this with us. And
it's been my total pleasure. Yeah. Before I go, I want to share with you a little quote from E. Cummings, which I completely love.
Yeah,
and he said, "It takes courage to grow up and become who we really are." And I think it's a beautiful thing to remember on this journey of learning to love ourselves and love everybody else, and then step into that it is the journey. It doesn't get rushed. It takes courage, but it's also we're here, and that is the journey, and sometimes we have to give ourselves a little patience and time.
Yes.
Because it's always evolving.
Absolutely.
The ever moving one.
Yeah. I feel that way too. I feel it's a lifelong journey in a way. We are never finished with this.
Completely.
Yeah.
My parents are in their mid-80s and they're still very much journeying it and exploring their journey. And we each are doing it at a different phase in our life in a different way. And that's where astrology comes in and is very helpful and interesting to know to support your journey. But all the qualities of it are so incredible.
Yeah.
As we move through our life.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, again, thank you so much. And
It's been a wonderful opportunity, and I love talking with you.
Yeah, me too. Me too. So thank you so much, and bye bye.
Bye.